Now, on to other matters. Joe Biden. Remember that guy? He's emerged from seclusion. So where do you think the former president has gone to make a big return to the stage? Richard Nixon, of course, famously sat down with David Frost to begin his long comeback after Watergate. But there's been nothing so high-minded for Biden. No, instead, he's sat down with the ladies from The View and brought along his wife Jill as, I guess you could only say, as his carer. And I tell you what, he's looking fitter than ever, or as MSNBC's Joe Scarborough might put it, this version of Biden is the best there's ever been.
The projects, the benefits. How do you lead the world without having the best infrastructure in the world? How do you lead the world without having the best health care in the world? How do you lead the world without having the best education system in the world? How do you lead the world when you don't have that done?
Howdy. Even the View ladies, though, they couldn't avoid the big question, which is, of course, was Joe Biden really with it, particularly in that last troubled year of his presidency?
Since you left office, there have been a number of books that have come out, deeply sourced from Democratic sources, that claim in your final year there was a dramatic decline in your cognitive abilities in the final year of your presidency. What is your response to these allegations, or are these sources wrong?
So I know you're asking, was Joe Biden able to answer the question? You be the judge.
They are wrong. There's nothing to sustain that, number one. Number two, think of what we were left with. We were left with a circumstance where we had an insurrection when I started, not since the Civil War. We had a circumstance where we were in a position that the pandemic, because of the incompetence of the last outfit, end up over 1 million people dying. And we're also in a situation where we found ourselves unable to deal with a lot of just basic issues, and which I won't go into in the interest of time.
Yeah, that's not really answering the question there, is it, Mr. President? Eventually, former First Lady Jill had to step in to play cleanup.
One of the things that
and Alyssa, one of the things I think is that the people who wrote those books were not in the White House with us. And they didn't see how hard Joe worked every single day.
Yeah, sorry, this is all cope. You saw it, I saw it, we knew, everybody knew that Joe Biden was in decline, and we knew we were being gaslit. And we also know that the cover-up was being driven by staffers with direct knowledge of what was really going on, but who hid it from the American people and the world. I mean, again, we all saw it.
And now I want to hand it over to the president of Ukraine, who has as much courage as he has determination. Ladies and gentlemen, President Putin. President Putin. He's going to beat President Putin. As you know, initially, the president of Mexico, Sisi, did not want to open up the gate to allow humanitarian.
Also, China's selling dual-use tech to Ukraine. We just slapped a bunch of sanctions on them. The Russian Navy's doing port calls in Cuba, 90 miles off the Florida coast.
America is a nation that can be defined in a single word. I was in the foothills of the Himalayas with Xi Jinping, traveling with him. I guess we traveled 17,000 miles when I was vice president. I don't know that for a fact.
Look, I could run those all night, but I won't. This rehabilitation, though, that they're attempting on Joe Biden, I think is too little too late, and it comes against a tide of books which are absolutely damning about the way the White House and much of the media, to their ever-loving shame, covered up what was going on in the White House. Meanwhile, the current president, Donald Trump, well, there aren't so many concerns about him. He's still got it. Just a few hours ago, he was talking about former Transport Secretary Pete Buttigieg, who some people talk about as a presidential contender.
When they took over, Buttigieg, who has no clue, he drives to work on his bicycle with his, in all fairness, with his husband on the back, which is a nice, loving relationship. But he didn't have a clue. This guy didn't have a clue. And he's actually a contender for president. Between him and Crockett, you can have that party. But he didn't know what he was doing.
Funniest president ever, totally underrated. But Trump may also, I am told, put the final nail in the coffin of the decline denialists, with the word being that he is going to release the audio tape of Joe Biden's interview with special counsel Robert Hur. Remember that? That was the one where the prosecutors said they couldn't bring charges against Biden for mishandling classified documents because they thought he would appear as a declining old man.